Welcome to Vape News Radio, the voice of vaping. In each show, we share the latest about regulations and things you need to know, plus upcoming conferences and fests, along with interviews with the movers and shakers in this fabulous vape space. Are you looking to get into this ever-expanding marketplace? Do you want to master this industry? Listen up as Norm Bauer, the Vape Mentor, shares it all. And here's your host, Norm Bauer.
Hello and welcome to Vape Radio, the voice of vaping, and this is show number 72. I'm Norm Bauer with VapeMentors, and today's show is sponsored by Vape Genie. We want to introduce you to Vape Genie Distribution. They've been around since 2013 and pride themselves on having access to all the cutting edge and new products. We get things first is a claim that holds true due to their great rapport with all the big brand manufacturers. Make your shop the first on the block to offer the best hardware, liquids, and other magical devices. They also offer competitive prices, some of the best customer service around, and a generous return policy. They carry an exhaustive list of e-liquids and keep up with all the market trends to deliver the best liquids in the industry. They also have no minimums and offer same-day shipping. Contact one of their experienced sales reps today or visit their site at vapegenie.com and register for a wholesale account. Get a quick approval and check out their inventory that day. If you mention coupon code Vape Radio, you're going to get 15% off your first order up to $100. That's vapegenie.com, where your distribution wishes come true. Today's show is also sponsored by Your eLiquids. Are you a retail shop without your own house line? Do you already have your own liquids but lack consistency or confidence that they are offering you a product that you can stand behind? Your eLiquids offers you a turnkey 8-week program to develop your own line and includes help with marketing, branding, and expansion into a wholesale channel if you wish. For information, contact me here at Vape Radio. That's Norm at VapeMentors.com. I wanted to let you know that we are still offering free webinar classes on how to open a vape shop. We cover everything you need to know about regulations, locations, size of your shop, and inventory. We're doing them every few weeks, and if you are not on our mailing list, you can visit us at VapeMentors.com and sign up for our classes. On our last show, we started a conversation with Nick, also known as Grimm, one of the most prolific and influential reviewers today. We covered so much awesome content, we ended up breaking our interview into 2 parts. So, welcome to part 2. In our last show, we covered hardware and products that work as well as some that don't, and Nick shared his list of must-carry inventory for vape shops. Be sure to catch that one along with the show that we're about to do right here. So, with no further delay, let's get cracking. Welcome back to Vape Radio. This is Norm Bauer, your voice of vaping, and I know why you're here right now. You're here because you heard our last show, which was part 1 of our interview with Nick/Grimm, who is truly an icon when it comes to reviewing in the vaping industry. We haven't even talked in the last interview about what kind of YouTube profiles he's getting and the number of downloads he's getting. But in our last conversation, we talked about the hardware market, and we really didn't get too much into the liquid market. So, Nick, Grimm, welcome back to Vape Radio.
Absolutely, Norm.
Okay. So we're doing this on the fly, as you might realize, but that's okay. That's what's nice about this radio podcast industry, is that you can kind of roll with it as you please. So before we start getting into the things that we didn't talk about, I'd love for you to share what kind of numbers of people who are following you and how that's grown over the years, because you used to do like 1 or 2 YouTube videos a week. And how many are you doing today, and what kind of following do you have right now?
Well, I generally try to do at least 4 videos a week. Occasionally, I'll do a 5th video just because, but I try to stick to the 4 videos a week format. When I first started doing videos, I was kind of it was my hobby, and I would just upload them kind of willy-nilly. I would do, 1 week I'd maybe have 1 video, and then the next week I'd have 2 videos, and then the next week I'd have no videos. You know what I mean? And so when you actually start growing your YouTube, having a schedule or having days that people can count on that you'll have content up is very, very important. And so I started to learn this only about 2 years ago when I started doing my Thursday vlog videos. And the Thursday vlog videos became kind of like a staple of my YouTube. Every Thursday, the vlog is up. rain or shine, there will be a vlog on Thursday. But I was still like kind of uploading videos willy-nilly around that. And so I started getting on a schedule of having a different video Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the vlog on Thursday. And each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, is a different themed day. So Monday is Mod Monday. We talk about mods. Tuesday is Topper Tuesday. We talk about toppers like tanks and RDAs. And Wednesday is Wildcard Wednesday, where we kind of talk about whatever. Sometimes it's another mod review. Sometimes it's an atomizer review. Sometimes it's a wicking tutorial or a build tutorial or proper charging of your batteries and stuff like that. And so getting on a schedule like that really helped, not just my numbers, but because they can rely on a video being up at a certain time or a certain day.
Awesome. And how would people be able to listen to your podcast or your vlog, whichever?
The vlog is on my SoundCloud. It's also, it's up on my YouTube first and foremost. YouTube/Grimm Green, 2 M's in Grimm Green. Every Thursday I upload the vlog. It's usually over an hour long, which people want it to be longer for some reason, which I'll never understand, but it's usually a little over an hour long. The audio version of that goes up on my SoundCloud and also on iTunes. If you search in the podcast app for Grimm Green, you can find it and subscribe and listen to it as well, which a surprising amount of people do.
And about how many followers do you think you have on any given show, and what kind of range?
As far as I don't even know. As far as views go, the vlog is far and away the most popular video that I upload. I can guarantee anywhere between 60 and 70,000, views on just YouTube for the vlog. Video reviews are a little bit different because those are more dependent on what the product is. If I'm reviewing a product that has a lot of hype or is very, very popular, then that'll get more views. But if I'm reviewing something that, maybe it's a little bit more of a niche, maybe it's not everybody's interested, or, someone's not in the market for, that can get more or less views. But the vlog is always, it's kind of how I gauge my audience, because it's something that people watch whether they're interested in all of the subjects I'm talking about or not. So I try to talk about advocacy. I do beer pairings. I talk about some first impressions. We do a segment called Retro Vaping, where I just vape really old vaping gear from like 5 years ago.
Antiques, right?
It's fun. And, I do shout outs for people, and we do viewer mail sometimes, and I have my favorite comments of the week that I gather from my YouTube. And so it's like a program. So that, people will watch that even if they're not interested in all the subjects that I'm talking about, but people will only watch a review for a product that they're interested in.
I agree. Well, as someone who came from radio even before I got into vaping, I had a terrestrial radio show on for several years. I understand the value of consistency and dependency. And so the reality of it is that for you to kind of go helter-skelter and not really sure when you're going to be posting, that's doing a disservice to our followings. And the truth is that you're providing a service for the people who want to know, and we're providing a service here through Vape Radio for people who want to know as well. And so I've kind of got on a consistent schedule here at Vape Radio to the point of where we're doing roughly 3 to 4 a month, because people need to know what's going on. So good for you for doing this in a more professional way. Not that you weren't professional before, but now you're certainly doing it with more consistency. So kudos to you, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Right,
I'm doing my best.
Well, absolutely. So let's talk about the Eliquid market, because in our first interview from the last show, we really didn't talk too much about that. I'm doing a lot of interviews in Q1 here of 2016 on e-liquids, because I think that with the FDA regs that are kind of like hanging over our heads, the e-liquid market has probably got the biggest bullseye on its back. So I would love your thoughts and your feedback on what you think is happening within the e-liquid industry from a manufacturing standpoint, because you are a manufacturer. You carry your own line called Namber. That's Namber, if anyone wants to look it up, and we'll put a link in there in the show notes. But I'd love your thoughts from a manufacturer standpoint of things that maybe they should be aware of or things to be concerned about. And then we're going to switch it over to the consumer side and how you think their marketplace might be affected. So let's talk about from a manufacturer standpoint. If you are an e-liquid manufacturer, which you are, what's keeping you awake at night?
What's keeping me awake at night? Well, what we strive to do at Namber is to manufacture our liquids in the most responsible way possible. A lot of my background before I got into this was in manufacturing. I worked for a very large coffee roaster, so I'm very familiar with things like hazard analysis, critical control point, and good manufacturing practices, and all this stuff that goes along with a manufacturing facility. So implementing those things into your liquid manufacturing, to me, is a no-brainer. If the FDA rolled out, tomorrow that we needed to have, GMPs in place and, HACCP in place and all these food safety programs in place, we would already be way ahead of the curve, because to us, that stuff is a no-brainer. Like, of course you want to manufacture your liquids in the cleanest, safest way possible. And so, certainly not cheap to do, but thankfully we were able to get with a lab up in Michigan and actually do this and build out the lab to where we could manufacture food in here. We could manufacture direct consumables in there, and it would be completely food safe and everything like that. And that's just, that's my background. So of course we're going to implement that when we're manufacturing our juice.
And I want to second that. I want to give kudos to you because I know who the manufacturer is. We've actually interviewed Daniel on this show before.
Yeah.
And so the manufacturing contractor that Grimm uses to manufacture Namber is truly one of the best in the industry. Certainly one of the top 3 in the entire nation. So good for you that you teamed up with someone who was a professional right from the beginning. And of course, you're adhering to, GMP standards, which is exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And yeah, Daniel is a great guy. He's really, really smart, and he's really on top of, everything that we talked about as far as, GMPs and doing everything, right the first time.
So let's talk about the e-liquid market out there from a competitive standpoint. One of the things that I'm not going to say predicted, but actually what I'm predicting is that you're going to see the demise of the majority of e-liquid manufacturers out there because they're not going to be able to compete. They're not going to get outside of their own little comfort zone or have the money to go out and contract to a high-quality manufacturer. So I think we're going to see a loss of a lot of the competition out there, but that's my thoughts. I would love to know your thoughts from I'm going to call it a 30,000-foot view. Do you see a huge drop-off rate of a lot of the e-liquid manufacturers out there?
Well, yes and no. What I see happening is these sort of, I guess you could call them like flash-in-the-pan companies.
Yes.
They have fun or quirky branding. They've got a couple flavors that people are already familiar with, like maybe they have a cereal or a yogurt or a cake or something like that. They'll do a huge social media blitz. They'll start up their Instagrams and Twitters and Facebooks and try to sell as much juice as they can. And then that's it. They get to the end and they can't expand. They can't grow any bigger. They've made some money off their juice, and then that's it. Their brand and their liquids have no longevity.
I agree with you 100%. And the truth is there's a lot of people who got into the e-liquid market thinking it was a get-rich-quick, I hate to use the word scheme, but I'll use that word scheme.
Sure.
When I started tracking back in 2013, at the time there was about 1,500 brick and mortar shops. Today we're looking at somewhere between 8 and 10,000. No one really knows. It's a hugely moving target, and there's no way to really know. And I estimated that at that time we're probably somewhere around 3 to 500. Now, if we look at where we are today, 24, 30 months, 36 months later, we're seeing somewhere between 7 and 9,000. And the truth is, as Nick just said, a lot of these companies never had a long-term plan. They might have a good product, they might not have a good product, but the reality of it is that distribution is the huge Achilles heel in the marketplace right now. I went to an event, Nick, a couple of weeks ago in your backyard in La Jolla, and it was a really wonderful speed dating type event in the vaping industry. And one of the comments that someone said, which I thought was 100% on target, and they said, there's never been such a high quality of e-liquids out there that you can't take to the market. There's thousands and thousands of really awesome flavors out there. That's almost like, once upon a time, a car would never last 100,000 miles. Now it's a given that a car is going to last 150,000 miles. Just like it's a given that if you're going to try almost any type of high-quality name brand e-liquid out there, it's probably going to be pretty good quality. Would you agree that there's a really extraordinarily high bar that we've created for ourselves as far as the quality of the e-liquids?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The e-liquids that we have today have been some of the best, I mean, literally the best that I've tried in the last 7 years. We've come a really long way. I mean, even as far as quality of ingredients, but just the people behind crafting these recipes are brilliant. I mean, we have people who used to be bartenders or used to be in the food, chefs in the food service industry now setting their foot inside eLiquid and creating these unbelievably high quality and just super tasty eLiquids.
Why don't you tell us a little about your line? So Namber, Namber is the name of your product line, and how many flavors do you have?
Well, our most popular line is the EpiClouds line, which is the Max VG for drippers line. We have 6 flavors in that, and we have the Namber Classics, which are the flavors that we launched with they're all tried and true flavors, and they're much more simple flavors. There's a tobacco, there's a strawberry. They're very simple flavors, and those are geared towards, vapors that are just starting out. They're a 50-50 mix, so you can use them easily inside of clearomizers or tanks or whatever starter kits are out there. They're not too thick with VG, so they're very compatible with a lot of starter kits. And we have, I think, 9 flavors in the Namber Classics. I'm going to have to double check. I think it's 9 flavors in the Namber Classics. The newest line we just launched is Grimm Cult. And this is the one probably that I've been the most excited about. My background is in music. I played in bands my entire life. I'm a huge, huge metal fan. I'm a huge fan of rock bands and going to rock shows. And so me and my buddy Mark, who is also my tattoo artist up in Reno, we got this idea of why don't we do a juice line that's kind of themed around the metal culture. At that time in the vape industry, there was just a lot of, stuff that doesn't necessarily appeal to me. A lot of, DJs and dance music, and none of that stuff really appeals to me. I mean, it's all well and good, but at the end of the day, it doesn't lift my skirt up. And so we got the idea, what if we made a juice line that was appealing to metal kids, to people like us that we would want to vape? And so last year at Vape Bash, I want to say it was last May of 2015.
So let me ask you, Nick. So when it comes to developing these 3 lines, are you pretty much the decision maker as far as determining the final products that actually come to market?
Yeah, I have a great team that we all work together. In the end, all the big decisions are on me, which is kind of a lot of pressure, but I'm really confident in my tastes, and I get really picky with things like the way our logo looks or the way that our juices are presented to stores and how they look in a retail display and how our advertising looks and all this, that, and the other. So I'm confident in making those decisions. But yeah, ultimately, I'm the one that will decide which flavors we have, which ones we don't, and how they look and how they're branded and stuff like that.
Excellent. So we've covered a lot of ground between the first interview that we did in the last show and this one here. So I'd love for you to offer some guidance for maybe someone out there who is looking to, one, either start a vape shop, or maybe that has one that they're not quite sure the direction on. I mean, if you were a vape shop owner today, is there anything that you think that they should do different, or maybe they should be aware of to take into account the changing, not just the regulations, but also the changing desires and demands of the public at large? Because we've set a very high bar for the public to the point of where a crappy shop is just not going to cut it today.
Yeah, I'm not envious of anybody opening up a vape shop right now. There's just so many products, and even apart from having so many products, everybody has so many different tastes as far as what kinds of juice they like, what they're willing to pay for a bottle of juice, where these juices are getting made. And I mean, it's almost overwhelming. The only advice I can possibly give would be to know your audience. If there's vape shops around you, or, local vape groups, you need to see what people are into, what mods they're using, what juices they're using. Use that as kind of like a jumping off point. And a lot of these wholesale accounts, and I mean, as far as Namber Juice goes, there's no real long-term wholesale accounts. So if a juice line is doing really, really bad, there's no reason why you should have it in your store. You can easily swap it out for a juice line that could possibly do better for you. And that's one of the reasons that we don't have long-term contracts on our wholesale accounts, is because if our juice is not doing good for you, we're not going to force you to keep replenishing your stock of it if you're not selling it. That's ridiculous. That doesn't benefit us and it doesn't benefit the shop. So it's rough. It's rough out there.
I totally agree with you. And we're going to kind of bring an end to this. I'm going to ask you to get into your DeLorean time machine and go back to the future, if you will. So here we are. Here we are in the first quarter of 2016. And obviously the industry has changed a lot since you got in 2009 and a lot since I got in 2013. So if you were to fast forward, say 2 years from now, we're not going to go too far ahead because anything beyond it is speculative. But let's just say that we're talking in February of 2018. What do you see different or significantly changed in the vaping industry, either from the standpoint of shops that are out there or the regulations that may be implemented by then? If you were fast forwarding 24 months from now, how would life be different in this world of vaping that we all, have passion for?
Well, if we're left to our own devices, and that's saying that...
Which would be great, by the way, if that was the case.
If we're left to our own devices, let's say there's no FDA involvement, there's no, as far as we can, because in Europe they're doing the TPD, which, you can't have a bottle over 10 mils.
Yeah.
No bottles over 10 mils. So if none of that happens, if left to our own devices, I think juice bottles are going to get bigger and cheaper. Absolutely. That's a no-brainer. Things are going in that direction anyway. I think that mods are going to become more plentiful and cheaper as well. And I see vape shops becoming more like fast food restaurant chains. So instead of me and my buddy Dwayne opening up a vape shop and calling it Nick and Dwayne's Vape Shop, we could open a Beyond Vape or a Local Vape or a whatever vape franchise vape shop.
Where someone's basically going to come in like an In-N-Out and order a double with cheese or something.
Right. And you're going to be able to get the same things at this, maybe not 100% of the same things, but generally the same things at the same vape shops. And you're going to be brand loyal. It's like, when I go to the East Coast and I'm like, I don't know what any of these fast food restaurants are. I just want a McDonald's.
Right. Well, I've said to people for quite some time is I do not think the vaping industry is going to go away. There's huge pressure from the Fed, from a lot of the states now, and certainly from the city level, but I do not think that the vaping industry is going to go away, but it absolutely will be different. And I definitely believe, as I think you will agree, that there's always going to be room for entrepreneurs to find a room in there for them, something that gets them excited. And so the reality of it is that we're in an amazing industry. All of you who are listening right now that are consumers, there's still opportunities. And for those of you who are in the B2B marketplace, you just have to be very adept at monitoring things and being able to change with the times and being able to reflect those times into your marketplace and what have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, and you can share whatever kind of contact information you want, your website, your Twitter, your email address, whatever you want. And, in advance, I just want to thank you for the generosity of your time. Because like I said, you've been a font of great information this afternoon. So thank you so much for that. But should someone want to get a hold of you or learn more or follow you, what should they be doing?
You can follow me on Twitter at Grimm Green. Follow me on Instagram. Everything's Grimm Green. Grimm Green. GrimmGreen.com, YouTube Grimm Green, Twitter Grimm Green, Instagram Grimm Green, Facebook Grimm Green. I'm kind of all over the place. I try to keep my emails, more, business related, I guess. A lot of people, a lot of people email me, nick@grimmgreen.com. I do my best to reply to everybody, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. So it's a gamble if you email me, nick@grimmgreen.com. But you never know. You might get there. You might get through. You might get a response.
Understood. Well, listen, my friend, thank you so much for this time. And I look forward to seeing you at one of the next events that we both are at. And look forward to maybe picking up another conversation with you as things change on your end or as it changes on our end up here. And we'll just kind of go from there.
Sounds good, Norm.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not go away. This is Norm Bauer with Vape Radio, your voice of vaping, and we're going to be right back. Well, I don't know about you, but I had a wonderful time interviewing Nick, also known as Grimm Green, in part 2 of this interview. You know, the guy is just an amazing font of information. He's been doing this now for going on 7 years. He does 4 to 5 video blogs a week, and the guy just is a great resource for information. He's also the developer of a line of e-liquids called Namber, that's Namber juices, and they are apparently quite successful, and we encourage you to check them out. So just to kind of cover a little bit of ground on what we talked about, what's keeping Nick up at night? Well, he wants to make sure he's putting out the best products possible, and he offered some advice about what shops could be doing in the future. And the bottom line is that you need to be very flexible, you need to be very adaptable, and this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. He also says that if we were to look forward 24 months in the future, if we were to be left alone to our own devices, we should be able to take care of ourselves. And he sees liquids getting cheaper in larger bottles. Mods will also be dropping in price. Know your audience is one of the things that Grimm advises, and I absolutely agree with him. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up Vape Radio show number 72, and thanks again for listening. Do you have a topic you'd like to hear, or maybe something you'd like to share, someone you'd like us to speak with? Send us a note to norm@vapementors.com. Before we leave, I want to offer you all a great opportunity. Would you like to get your product, service, or message in front of our targeted vaping audience? Vape Radio is the #1 vape radio show in the world with more than 1.2 million downloads and over 120,000 unique views a month. We were one of the top 10 business podcasts of 2015 on Podbean and beat out more than 130,000 other shows. For just $750, you can get your company integrated within 3 shows, and we're looking for 2 more advertisers to fill our spots. How about you? Give me a shout, norm@vapementors.com. That's it for show number 72. So until next time, vape on.